Let's go to the phone lines to start off our bottom half of the hour here on Halftime Smackdown Matty T. Let's go to the phones and let's welcome in Connor O'Gara from Saturday Down South. Connor, my man, your Razorbacks won a tight one this past Saturday.
Oh boy, I'm feeling good. Not just because we got a game that I'm going to definitely have to take a nap for to be able to stay up and write off of that one tonight. But I'm feeling good because you don't know that you did this, but that intro song, "Return of the Mac," is arguably my all-time favorite song.
Really?
So right now I am, and I don't know if you did that because like it came out in '96, a little bit of a throwback to the mid-'90s with Arkansas getting back to the Elite Eight. But I'm feeling very, very good vibes on this Monday in which, I'll be honest, like came into the day a little bit tired, a lot of basketball, a lot of staying up late, but I'm feeling good as can be right now.
I wish that me and Matty T could take credit for what you just said as far as like the 1996 reference, that you being your favorite song, but
well, it's just because we're a couple of Macs here. It's like, hey,
that's a good point.
Return to us. Huh?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Connor, it was a heck of a game this past weekend. I mean, and Arkansas, again, another double-digit comeback. And before we move on to this Baylor matchup, I mean, Coach Musman has got these guys playing incredibly well right now, and they did it again this past Saturday, my friend.
Tell you what, the cardiac Hogs, our Hogs, they're taking years off my life, but I'm okay with it because I like having this little thing in the back of my mind where Arkansas goes down double digits and I'm able to not panic.
Right.
And it's like, all right, everything's going to be okay. They got them right where they want them. They're going to be fine. This is what they've been doing all tournament long. So inevitably when Baylor gets up double digits in the first half tonight, I'm just going to say to myself, don't worry about that one seed. Don't worry about the fact that Baylor was arguably the best team in college basketball for most of the year with the exception of Gonzaga. Just focus on the fact that Arkansas can rally back from a double-digit deficit. Now, the way that they did it the other night, I had some moments in which I said, maybe this is indeed coming to an end. Maybe we are going to see our first ever 15 seed in the Elite Eight. But they just continue to get defensive stops. And I love the adjustments because early on, that was a team that looked like it had no idea how to defend what Oral Roberts was trying to do. And they're giving uncontested layups and they're focusing all their energy on their two leading scorers. You're just thinking, man, when is this going to turn around? Because it looks way too easy. But credit Musselman because once again, he makes the adjustment and they figure out some things defensively. And I thought that's what really kind of fueled things down the stretch. I mean, that's Arkansas's bread and butter. And this team just continues to find a way to survive. And I think it sets up for kind of a matchup in which they really shouldn't have a whole lot of pressure on them. And they should be able to play as loose as they have all tournament.
And you lead me right into what I wanted to bring up here with the double-digit comebacks, which are great. But, Connor, I don't think this is a matchup where you can't fall behind by that much because I think Baylor's proven time and time again, I mean, they only have 2 losses on this whole season. I don't think you can fall behind by 10, 15 points and hope again for another 15-point comeback. I mean, yes, the Razorbacks have done it multiple times this season, but Baylor's that good that if they can get you down early, they're not going to let you back in.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, what they do defensively is remarkable. And you watch that game against Villanova, and you see them turn up that defensive intensity, and you realize that's why they are indeed a 1 seed. Scott Drew's team is ridiculously good, and they are going to make this a true battle. But I think the interesting thing with this matchup is, Arkansas really hasn't shot it well yet at all. And is that finally going to turn around? I mean, they've only had 10 made threes through 3 NCAA tournament games, and they're moving on to the Elite Eight. I think if you had told any Arkansas fan that you would have that, and then you would have Moses Moody kind of searching for his first good tournament game, I think you would have taken that. You would have been ecstatic, and that's a sign of role players stepping up. That's a sign of, obviously you've seen Tate and Smith really kind of provide those huge, huge minutes and be those key veteran presences. But I think that this is a matchup now where if you're Arkansas, you're right. You can't afford to fall behind 12 and assume that it's all going to be okay because Baylor is just unrelenting. And they have that gear that they can flip, that they flipped against Wisconsin. They flipped to it against Villanova as well, where they can take a good opponent and they can just blow them out of the water, and they can make it look like they don't belong in the same gym as them. So this is a game in which I think Arkansas really has to value those possessions, can't have the bad shot selection early, can't afford to fall behind because Baylor is just too good, and I do think that what they do in the half court from a defensive standpoint, it's going to make life really difficult if you are not willing to help yourself out and get some of those quality looks inside.
It's going to be definitely a great game. And as a reminder, that game starts at 8:57 p.m. tonight. Not sure who made that decision to start this game at 9 o'clock Central Standard Time. So definitely, Connor, we're going to have to get the cups of coffee ready to go for this evening. Moving outside of Arkansas for a second, the Alabama Crimson Tide had a pretty good, almost a good comeback last night, knocking down the last second shot at the end of the second half, but ended up falling to UCA. And I really enjoyed your column that you had on Saturday Down South, and you can check that out at sds.com. But momentum, I think, is something key that we kind of were associating with Alabama for playing so well, much the same as Arkansas. But they came up short again. They came up short against Sunday against UCLA.
Yeah, March momentum is just, it's not really a thing. It's just not, because I watched that game against Maryland that Alabama played in the round of 32 and said, this is a team that can win a national championship playing that style, because their floor is so high. And I think last night was a good example of why Alabama's floor is high, because there are very few teams that can go 32 minutes into a game and look up and have the conference player of the year and their leading scorer with a combined 2 points and be tied in the Sweet 16 game. That's a testament to the depth that Alabama has and the rotation that Nate Oates likes to utilize. But, it still was just a painful reminder for a team that was favored to win that game by 7 points, the double-digit seed. You're 2 wins away from achieving something that you've never done in program history, which is get to a Final Four if you're Alabama. And, you don't make free throws, and you don't take care of your basic fundamentals. And I thought they settled for threes in overtime, and they really ran out of gas after Alex Reese hits one of the shots of the tournament at the end of regulation there. But, it just serves as a reminder of, you can have all this momentum and you can feel like you're shooting the ball well, but, it's such a game-to-game tournament. And even for a team like Alabama, who had won 8 in a row, and you've won the SEC tournament, and you're feeling as good as you could possibly feel, that was a reality check. And I thought UCLA just did such a good job of handling all of those different Alabama runs, of which there are probably 3 different times when I thought Alabama's about to blow this game out of the water, and UCLA just kept responding. They didn't hurt themselves in the same way that Alabama did, where Alabama's missing free throws or turned the ball over. UCLA didn't do those things, and that's why UCLA deserved to win that game.
The other Elite Eight game this evening, Oregon State taking on Houston. That's at 6:15 tonight. The ones that I'm keeping an eye on will be more for tomorrow. And USC takes on Gonzaga, the overall number 1 seed, and then UCLA will move on to take on the number 1 seed, Michigan. Of Michigan and Gonzaga, who are you putting your stock into to be of those two? Who would you put more stock into becoming the national champ?
I'd stick with the Zags. I mean, goodness gracious, they're unfair. They're unfair, and it doesn't seem like a team that really has a weakness at this point. And I questioned Michigan coming into this, like everybody. The Isaiah Livers thing. How good is Michigan without Livers? They kind of struggled down the stretch a little bit there. Are they going to be able to figure it out? They have a coach who hasn't been there before, Juwan Howard. What's this all going to look like? Michigan is so unbelievably tough, and I tweeted out yesterday, I think their basketball team is tougher than their football team, and I don't really think it's close. They're phenomenal. And I thought Florida State was actually going to win that game, but Michigan just comes out, and they are just so tough on the inside with Hunter Dickinson. But I would still take Gonzaga. I just think Gonzaga, we talk about that different gear that Baylor has from a defensive standpoint. Gonzaga has that from an offensive standpoint. And they could take a 5-6 point game and all of a sudden turn it into 14-15 and just end your night just like that. And I think that, I think Alabama still probably would have run into that Gonzaga team, but I think that this is Gonzaga or bust right now with the way that this is all kind of setting up. Go figure, though, after all the madness that we had early on with so many of these upsets, where it was the most amount of technical upsets that we've ever had in the first 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament, where it's 5 seeds or worse. I think we're probably going to end up getting 3 1 seeds in the Final Four. I mean, that's kind of what it's shaping up to be. And I'm not dismissing Arkansas. I'm not dismissing Arkansas. I'll never do that. But the odds are in favor of 3 1 seeds in the Final Four. So it just kind of goes to show you, just when you have things figured out in March, or you think you do, usually things go the other way.
Couple minutes here with Connor O'Gara from Saturday Down South. I was anxious to talk to you about this because we've talked a lot about Indiana basketball, with you being associated with Indiana for so many years. They got themselves a new head coach, and one that probably caught us all a lot by surprise, the former Nick assistant, Mike Woodson. the former Indiana Hoosier, too, also heading back to Bloomington. Is this a good move for your Hoosiers, or are you questioning this move?
You know, I was holding out hope that Eric Musselman was going to end his press conference, his last press conference of the year, whenever that is, and just no, I'm kidding. I would never ever wish that upon Arkansas.
I was going to say, careful, don't say that. Don't say that very loudly.
No. I would not wish that upon the great people of Arkansas. I really hope that they get that deal signed soon and that he's able to be a Hog for a very long time. But the Woodson thing, yeah, I mean, it seems like they're trying to do a little bit of like what Michigan did with Juwan Howard, Georgetown with Patrick Ewing, where you take a guy who knows the program, was a huge part of the program during its heyday when it was at its peak during the Bob Knight era, and this is kind of an homage to Bob Knight to say this is one of your guys, and there are a lot of people there who really support that. He's got those ties in Indianapolis, but, you know, as Arkansas fans know, when an underwhelming hire happens, like Sam Pittman was an underwhelming hire based on his experience, and Mike Woodson is the same in Indiana, but it doesn't guarantee success, and there are so many decisions to be made afterwards that are going to guarantee that. So I'm kind of reserved judgment. I think it's telling that the Indiana job isn't maybe at the level that many of those people thought it would be at, and as an Indiana grad, I feel comfortable saying that, but yeah, it just kind of goes to show you it's so much based on personnel decisions and how you adapt to your surroundings. And I think that's what's going to determine Mike Woodson and the success that he will or won't have in Indiana.
Last thing, Colin, before we let you go, how often do you follow Ty Richardson's Twitter handle?
I'm just here for the food picks.
Okay, fair
I'm
enough.
just here for all the food picks.
Okay, have you heard about this? Have you heard about this bet or this proposal that's been put in place a couple days ago?
Oh, yeah. Wait, so is it Muss shaves his head if Arkansas wins tonight?
Yes, if Arkansas wins. And now the caveat was that this thing had to get enough like Twitter retweets and different things like that. But theoretically, yes, if Arkansas wins tonight, Ty has to shave his head, and it's going to be Coach Muss doing it at JJ's on Dixon here in Fayetteville.
Okay, I'm going to need video of this. I saw Ty when he did the mullet a little while ago. And
with the 501?
Yeah, it's an interesting look. I'm way more on board with this. You know, be in the moment, appreciate the entire ride, enjoy it, have fun with it. I am perfectly okay with that. As someone who rocked a shaved head, you know, up until I was about 22 years old, I'm just saying there are worse looks to have. I know Ty loves his precious locks, but, you know, if you could have the coach of the guy who brought Arkansas back to the Final Four shaving your head, you know, I think that's a whole lot better than, like, getting a tattoo or doing something like that.
Fantastic. So if you needed more motivation for the Razorbacks to win, you just got it right there. So hopefully we can see a shiny ball Ty Richardson. So there's that for you, my friend. Connor, thanks for hopping on with us today, and we will talk to you next Monday, my friend. And hopefully, maybe next Monday we're talking about the Razorbacks national championship, maybe?
Fingers crossed, man. Let's hope for it. Sounds good, guys.
Let's do it. That's Connor O'Gara from Saturday Down South. Thanks for joining us, Connor O'Gara.